Welcome back. In this project, we will be adjusting our lighting in order to create our own high contrast self-portrait. In this image here, you can see with the high contrast, you see shadows and you see highlights, and you cannot see any other details in between. In order to create images like these, you will need to adjust your lighting. There are two different types of lighting that we're going to talk about today. You have flood lighting, which is where the room is flooded with light. My face is currently exposed to flood lighting. All of my face is lit. You don't see a lot of big heavy shadows like you see it in the images to the right. Then you can also have flood lighting with a spotlight. Spotlight is the second type of lighting we're going to talk about. So flood lighting and spotlights. So now I currently have a spotlight that is bringing in light on one side of my face, causing there to be darker shadows on the other side of my face. And now I have removed the floodlight. I've turned off the lights in the room, and so the only light left is the spotlight. You can see now that you lose some details, like my hair. It fades into the background because there's no other light in the room, and since my hair is not directly in the spotlight, then there is no light on it, and you start to get really dark shadows and just a few highlights. To create a high contrast image, you will first need to take a picture of yourself. In this picture, you can see that I had flood lighting, so the light was flooding the entire room. You can see that there are some shadows on my face, but those shadows are not dark enough in order for us to create a quality high contrast image. Here you can see that the shadows are darker because I have used a spotlight along with the floodlight. So there's floodlights and a spotlight. In this image, the shadows on my face are darker, so we need those shadows to be a little bit darker. And so here, using only the spotlight without the floodlights on, you can see that the shadows on my face are the same in value. Okay, they are the same darkness as my hair. And so now creating a high contrast image from this picture will allow us to get a good image where you have nice shadows and not just the contour lines. Here you can see that I took several pictures of myself in order to get a good picture to use for my high contrast image. In this slide, you can see that I have moved the spotlight around, and some of them I have the spotlight above my head, some of them are below my chin, and some of them are to the right, some are to the left. Okay, the spotlight being moved around changes the shape of your shadows, and the shape of your shadows is important because you don't want shadows that cover up important details on your face, like your lips or your eyes or your nose. Okay, so you can see in some of these that my lips fall completely into the shadows. That's not going to make a good high contrast image, okay, because we'll lose my lips completely, and we want this to look like a face, so having as many details from the face as possible is good. So having a mix of highlights and shadows on your lips is good. Having a mix of highlights and shadows on your nose makes for a good high contrast image. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for when I'm taking these pictures. I'm looking for my lips to have highlights and shadows, my nose to have highlights and shadows, and I try to get my eyes to have highlights and shadows as well, but it's a little bit harder if you have on glasses. You can see that the high contrast images can be produced in different ways from the same photo. Okay, both of these high contrast images were created from this same photo. In some of them, you can see that I lost my hair. And in this one, you can see that I was able to maintain the shape of my hair in the image. To create high contrast images, there are several different applications that you can use. If you take a picture with your phone, you can use several different apps on your phone. You can use social media websites like Instagram. All of the terminology is the same, but I'm going to show you how to do it on the computer. Okay, so if you have a computer that already has a photo editing software on it, you can use that. If you do not, you can go to Google and type in photo editor. I'm going to hit online free. Okay, now there's several on here. They mostly all work the same. So I just clicked on the top one, which is Pixlr, Pixlr.com. And you can see that I've already been on here, and I've already created some high contrast images here. In order to create these images, you need to upload it. So I'm going to hit open image. Okay. Now you'll see that the image is here. In order to create a high contrast image, what you're going to be doing is changing the highlights and the shadows. Okay, so the brightest brights, which right now are right here, and the darkest darks, which right now are right up in here. Okay, I don't want this to be my brightest brights because that's what's going to get edited the most. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crop that part out of my image because it's not important. What we're focusing on is the self-portrait, the face. Okay, so over here you can see the tools. If you scroll over them, they tell you what they are and what they do. Okay, so I want to crop. Okay, and so I'm going to hit the crop tool. Now I'm just going to drag this over until I remove those super bright highlights on my shirt, because I don't want those to be the thing that gets edited the most. Okay, I'm going to apply. Okay, I still have some down here, and you're going to see how those affect the rest of the image as I edit it. Okay, so now I'm going to go to adjust. Okay, you can see that under adjust you can change the lightness. So I'm going to click that. You have a tab here that says black and white. You can click that to change it to black and white, or you can change the saturation. Saturation is the amount of color. Okay, so this is adding color, this is taking color away. Okay, and so now you can see I've reduced the saturation. Okay, and the reason why I'm showing you this is because if you have any other software editor, photo editor, you may not have a button that says black and white. And so in order to get black and white on other apps, you may need to change the saturation. Okay, now I'm going to go down under light. Okay, and you can see that I have one that says contrast, so I can increase the contrast. Okay, now notice when I increase this contrast, I start to lose my hair in the background. Okay, the order in which you adjust your picture is important. So I need to adjust the contrast, but maybe I don't need to do it first. I'm going to change it just a little bit. Then I'm going to increase the exposure a little bit. The exposure is how light the picture is. Okay, so it makes the highlights brighter and it makes the shadows darker. The shadows brighter as well. Also brightness does the same thing. Okay, so I am now changing the contrast between my hair and the background. So now when I adjust the contrast, hopefully my hair stays more. Okay, so now I can get my hair to stay a little bit longer. Okay, and now I'm going to apply, because when I apply, it saves what I have done so far. Okay, and then I can hit the same button again and everything will be set back to the middle. So now I can increase things even more. So if I were to increase the contrast all the way, I can hit apply and then come back and add more contrast. Okay, but right now I want to adjust a filter. Okay, the sharpness and clarity. You'll see this on most photo editing software. The sharpness kind of creates this image that's not as soft. Okay, we got this. It's the opposite of smooth. Sharp is the opposite of smooth. Okay, but I'm gonna make it a little bit sharper and then increase the clarity. Now I don't want to do it too much to where I start getting a lot of those little dots all over my face. Okay, so I want to increase the clarity to about here. I'm going to apply that, then I'm going to go back to my contrast and increase the contrast, and you'll see that by increasing the clarity, I sharpened up some of these highlights in my hair so that that stays there and I don't lose it as much. Okay, now if I increase the exposure too much, you see that I lose my eye. And I want to try to keep as many of the details as I can. So I don't want to increase the exposure that much. And so you just keep playing with these until you get a really high contrast image. Alright, so I think I have a pretty decent image. I'll hit save. Okay, and then I can download it to my computer. So now I have the image saved to my computer, and it's also still on this website. And now I can hit close, and now you can see that I've just edited the same picture 3 different times. Okay, this is the one that we just finished. You can see I just did it just now, and then these two I did 19 minutes ago, 22 minutes ago. So the same image can be edited in a lot of different ways. Okay, so this one looks similar to my first one. I was trying to keep my hair more, and I did keep my hair a little bit more than I did the first time. But you can see in this image here, I increased the sharpness and the clarity a lot, and it allowed me to keep more of my hair, but it also made my face a little bit more spotty. Notice how in Spotlight 2, the background was a lot darker than in Spotlight 1. And so in the Spotlight 1 image, this was a completely different picture that I took. This picture is different from this picture. My hair stays a lot better. Okay, I like that better. I'm going to use this image instead of this one. I tried this image 3 different times and I was not able to keep my hair. And that is because of the value that you have in each image when it's originally taken. That is the reason why you take several different pictures to try to get the lighting correct.